Heavy horse.
The year 1306. The Kingdom of Scotland hangs by a thread. William Wallace, the people's champion, is dead. Betrayed by his own countrymen into the hands of England's formidable warrior ruler, King Edward I, Longshanks. The little remnant of hope for the nation lies with two bitter rivals and claimants to the empty throne, John Cummin and Robert de Bruce. At Greyfriars Monastery in Dumfries, tempers flare. Cummin is stabbed by Bruce's own hand. Lying in a pool of blood, his men finish the job. Seizing the opportunity, Bruce moves quickly to ascend the throne at Scone and is crowned King of Scots. The success, however, is short-lived. Joining forces at Perth, the English and the Cummins descend upon Bruce's army and destroy them at the Battle of Methven. Narrowly escaping with a much depleted force, Bruce is ambushed and flees the mainland. The situation seems hopeless. With the exception of a few men at his side, all his supporters had been killed in battle or hung, drawn and quartered by Longshanks. His wife captured, and his sisters housed in cages hung from the walls of Roxburgh and Berwick. Yet it was in exile that Bruce made powerful allies, gaining the respect and allegiance of the powerful Lord of the Isles, Angus Og MacDonald. 1307, Bruce returns to the mainland. Still drastically outnumbered, his new campaign will be fought with the tactics of his predecessor, William Wallace, a guerrilla war, using the most powerful of weapons, Bruce's intimate knowledge of the Scottish terrain. Victory at Glen Trool. Victory at Loudon Hill. A massacre of English cavalry. Bruce is back, and he's winning. Longshanks marches northwards to put an end to Bruce once and for all, but on the 6th of July 1307, just south of the border, King Edward I, Hammer of the Scots, is dead. 1313. For 6 years, Robert de Bruce has fought and consolidated his position as King of Scots. Yet, the most strategic fortress in Scotland, Stirling Castle, is still garrisoned by the English. Edward Bruce, the king's only surviving brother, is charged with the siege of Stirling Castle, commanded by Sir John Mowbray. Impetuous, hot-blooded, and bored of long sieges, Edward makes a pact with Mowbray: be relieved by midsummer 1314, or surrender. King Edward II will not allow the surrender of this key fortress. Mustering the largest English army ever to cross the border, Bruce is forced to do what he has always feared: meet the English on the open field. And so, on June the 23rd, 1314, waiting for the English above the Bannockburn, on the road to Stirling Castle, stands Scotland. Highlander and Lowlander, Norman and Celt, clan by clan, all the nobility and common folk alike. One nation, under one king.
de Bruce, King of Scots, is scouring the land, awaiting the English army.
The English are coming! The English are coming!
Hey.
The English are here! A great host of marches up the Roman road! The English are coming!
Robert de Bruce's small force of around 8,000 men are well prepared. Upon the Roman road, he has dug pits on either side to halt the English advance. Small pits about the depth of a man's knee to break the English cavalry charge. Bruce scours the area. Give cheers to your king! Give cheers to your king! The Scots are outnumbered almost 3 to 1, lightly armed, with 15-foot spears with iron tips. The English army themselves, a superior fighting force numbering almost 22,000. There's a huge supply line, farriers, with their huge death trails and knights are ready. There's a supply line of men, archers, alewives. All supplies are also coming with this army. Bruce scours and addresses his men.
Warriors of Scotland, now is the hour. The English come. We're bloody their nose today. You have to drive them back. Are you ready?
While Bruce is addressing his men, Sir Henry de Bohun, the Earl of Hereford's nephew, arrives with the vanguard. Seeing the Scots king armed only with a light axe, he charges at Bruce in single combat in a challenge that Bruce cannot deny. The English Earl is armed. Boo! The English Earl is armed. That's more like it. The English Earl is armed in full armour on a heavy war horse known as a destrier. He sees his opportunity to kill the king. If he can strike the king dead now, the war will be effectively brought to a close. This young, arrogant knight, full of bravado, seizes his opportunity. He lowers his lance, preparing to kill the King of Scots. At the last moment, Bruce nimbly manoeuvred his horse to one side, stood up in his stirrups, and drove his axe straight down on the attacker's head. With such a force, it splits the Bohun skull in two. According to one chronicler, poor de Bohun's skull was split from his head to his chest bone. The Scots cheer in admiration of the king. And the king remarks, he's broken his axe. Poor de Bohun is carried off. This sends a shockwave to the English troops. Surely this is a king who can handle himself.
It's both or nothing. It's both or nothing. Yes, I know. They're freaking out. Fuck's sake.
This is Bruce's moment of glory. Later in the afternoon, the English vanguard arrive under the joint commands of the Earl of Gloucester and Hereford. Hereford is constable and usually the commander of the English vanguard. But again, the incompetence of Edward II has proven by dividing them both together to join the vanguard. These two rivals who already inhabit the Welsh marches are at each other's throats. Both Gloucester, 23-year-old, full of arrogance and lot to prepare and lot to show the crowd, argues considerably with Hereford.
Yep.
And we're just about to wait their arrival, but as usual, they're late. You have to consider what Bruce is up against. This is the greatest medieval fighting force in Europe. It's only been defeated once under William Wallace back in 1297, and both of these troops are veteran fighters. Bruce has fought a guerrilla war since the beginning when he seized the throne in 1306, and slowly but surely he's captured castle after castle. The English themselves, well, they've not been without their problems. Edward II is not the most popular king because he dispensed most of his royal favouritism on Gloucester. It's only now, and in 1313, that he really has the opportunity to meet Bruce in the field. The king has laid waste to the whole of Lothian as this massive army arrives. There's never been such a like in Scotland, probably until the days of Edward I and the Battle of Falkirk. And the option for Bruce is he is here on the high ground. This is traditionally the entry of the new park. Near where the statue sits is the bowstone where Bruce planted his standard the night before the battle. We are on honoured ground here, and honoured territory. And I hope you all feel privileged to be here and it's such a great event. As I stated, Bruce has prepared the ground. He's blocked the entry to the new park, which was an ancient hunting park. And what he's done is he's dug small pits to the depth of the knees, and on come the Scots. The Scots' morale is high because Bruce has already killed a knight in single combat, a brilliant act of brilliant chivalry. You can see here the Chilterns are forming up. Each man is armed with a 12-foot spear with a heavy tip. They've had months of practicing with Bruce not far from here in the Tor Wood. And each division and commander knows exactly what they have to do this day. However, if the English deploy their archers, it's going to be game over. Banners are flying, knives are sharpened, axes are branded, they are ready. The English have been on a forced march and they're on their way from Falkirk. They're tired. But as they approach, they know what they're going up against as well. This should be a walkover. We can see here the Chiltern learning to fight in formation. And this is really what wins the Battle of Bannockburn. You have these tightly packed combatants all together. Battles of men known or formed as a Chiltern. The spearmen may be up to about 6,000 in total, broken down into about 2,000 to 3,000 each. They've been drilled and prepared, drilled and prepared. They're slowly marching here, but they are quite a nimble fighting force. Highly effective. They've obviously not had their Weetabix this morning, boys and girls. As usual, the English are late. Or are they too feared? That's the thing. Is Edward II a big fearty? The English vanguard slowly arrive, being led by Gloucester. A 23-year-old with a cavalry division of about 500. Don't boo him, he's a nice man. The Earl of Hereford is a veteran as well. Unfortunately, both of these are at odds with each other. They disagree about who should lead.
What are you doing here, old man?
This is my line. Fight.
This is my line. I'm in command of this.
You're just a boy.
Just a boy?
Just a boy.
I've had more victories in this campaign than you have in your life.
I'm the Constable of England in charge of this army, not you. You're too hot-headed all the time.
All your men die
about without thinking about anything.
All of your men die of old age.
That's because they're still alive. Yours are all dead.
Dead? At least I do something. At least I go into battle. It's better than you can do.
As you can see, they clearly don't like each other. This was a fatal mistake of Edward II, appointing two men who don't like each other to command an army. Duh! Not the brightest man in the world, I think. But as I say, the Scots are ready. You can hear them.
I'm already.
That was terrible. My granny can shout louder than that. I think the crowd needs some help here. All for Bruce. All for the Bruce. All for King Edward. Bless him. The English both earls put aside their differences and charged straight at the children. In your own time. Yes, that usually means go. The English vanguard charge straight at the children. The pits take their toll, but they're unable to break through. As you can see, the children is holding firm, and the English vanguard are unable to put through. In frustration, they throw their maces and swords at the Scots. Oh, and Hereford is off. I think he's been at the drink. That is not a happy Hereford. The Scots stand firm, and the cavalry are forced back. You can see here the Scots are getting a bit arrogant and moving forward with their healed children. Forcing a poor, tired vanguard to move back. I always think the man with the biggest pointy stick will win this. As you can see, they're pressing forward, pressing forward. Oh, did he stand downwind to these guys? Oh. The English will be slowly driven back, unable to break through. And slowly but surely the English run away as they're unable to break through in the first part of this battle. So for this part of the afternoon, Bruce's forces are successful. They've stood their ground and blocked the entry to the new part. So technically, they prevented Edward II from coming within 3 leagues of Stirling Castle. The vanguard moved back, and the Scots reform.
We will not stand and rubble amongst these Englishmen. You will reform.
So at the moment, it looks like it's 2 goals to the Scots. The Boone's dead. And despite the own goal from Hereford falling off his horse, let's hope he does better at 2 o'clock performance. Just can't get the staff these days. So as you can see, it would be remarked when Robert Bruce had his first initial victory, the Scots infantrymen were very happy about this, but his leaders went to Bruce and said, "What on earth were you doing? That was foolish. You were only armed with an axe, and you've broken it. It costs a lot of money these days." But the reality is, this gives Bruce his chivalric moment This is basically his heroic moment in the battle. There is one chronicle called the Vita Edward Secundi, which is a biography of Edward II, which basically stated that Bruce rode after de Boon and killed him. Whether or not Bruce did that, I don't know, but I wouldn't have liked to have met him on a dark night, put it that way. Oh, camera opportunities. These guys hate a camera. Posers. But you can see just the deadly force of how these guys would move forward. That deep concentration of men, 3 lines deep, maybe 4 lines deep, each armed with a heavy tipped spear and bad breath. These men were trained for months on end in the Torwood. You can imagine Bruce doing this over and over again. Right guys, you've got it wrong. Do it again. Do it again. In fact, you can see the impact on the top of that spear because one of them's broken. The restaurant, that way. But you can just imagine just how effective this fighting force would have been. Please don't hurt anybody. They have paid a lot of money and travelled a lot of distances to be here. Just don't get within 12 foot of that spear or a foot of his mouth. You'll be fine. So, we have 2 small victories, but the battle is still to continue. Okay, the afternoon's not finished, there's all to play for. Meanwhile, a 2nd division under the veteran Sir Robert Clifford, an enemy of Robert the Bruce, and Sir Henry Beaumont, began to prepare to ride out to try and outflank the Scots. They took a different approach from the Roman road and rode towards St Ninians. It was at this point where Bruce was camped up perhaps near the statue, and he realised that this English cavalry division were riding past them. And his expressions were probably similar to, "What's going on there?" And immediately he dispatches Sir Thomas Randolph with his mobile children to move forward and basically catch Clifford and Beaumont. And they're just preparing for the arrival of Clifford and Beaumont. It's not exactly 100% sure what Clifford and Beaumont were up to. They may have just been trying to figure out how many Scots were up here because the Scots hold the high ground. Or they may have tried to outflank the Scots on a 2nd attack. But blocking their path is Robert Bruce's nephew, the brave Sir Thomas Randolph, who initially never supported Bruce but came over onto Bruce's side and began to win castles for him. In fact, to be honest, both Douglas and he were like footballers trying to get as many caps as they could for their country by capturing castles and taking them one by one. It's poor only Edward Bruce that doesn't manage to actually take Stirling Castle. I feel like I've seen this before. I'm just going to move over here to prove how handsome I am to this crowd because they haven't seen me yet.
No, you're very handsome.
Thank you. Thank you. Getting a lot of wolf whistles down this end, thank you very much. I'm in the King Robert tonight, there's no pressure. I'm buying. As I said, meanwhile in St Ninians, a small English force, led by the veterans Sir Robert Clifford and Henry Beaumont, were trying to make their way to Stirling Castle. Blocking their path was a brave Sir Thomas Randolph. The two forces clashed in a savage struggle. Sir William Daycourt was killed immediately, while Sir Thomas Grey was captured. Sir Thomas Grey later went on to record the battle, and it was later recorded in one of the chronicles, the very few chronicles that we have about this battle. Again, the Scottish children held firm against the might of the English cavalry. Oh, man with a big stick. And here they go. As I say, they tried to get into them, and Daycourt was instantly unhorsed and brought down and killed. Sir Thomas Grey, who didn't look too happy, was also brought down. Run away! Unable to break through, they try again to try and look for and close the gaps, but are absolutely impossible. Again, it's proven to be a body of well-trained infantry have defeated an elite class.
Out on me!
The Scots once more are victorious. The English leave the field. Men are tired. The English are tired. Let's remember that they've been a forced march from Falkirk. They're knackered, as you would say up here. These poor individuals were unable to break through, and Bruce still holds the high ground up near the new park. The English themselves start to move back. The rest of the army starts to arrive, including the baggage train. They cross over the Bannockburn, and to do this, they have to take down the doors of the local population and roofs. So people's roofs were removed and their doors were removed. You can imagine they weren't too happy about that. Where are you going with my door, you? You can just imagine it. It would be pretty bad. This poor army, tired, but still with the advantage, camped down on the Carse of Stirling, which is a flat piece of ground between the banks of the Pell Stream and the Bannockburn. They're looking for a dry area. And the reason that they park between the... Well, park? No, it's not a car. The reason they camp between the two rivers... I'll get it better by Act 3, honestly. The reason that they camp between the two rivers is so they can water their horses and have protection against any night attack by the Scots. Remember, this is the first pitched battle that Bruce has actually won, or we're about to win. He doesn't fight pitched battles. On an evening one, Robert Bruce has won a victory, but the possibility of men actually retreating is still, he has to consider if he's going to fight the next again day. The English are camped down on the Carse. Morale is low, men are tired, and they're getting munched on by midges. Which you will be about 5 o'clock. And as they discuss, Bruce calls a war council. A defector in the English camp, a Scottish knight called Sir Alexander Seton, then leaves the English, who are in disarray. He's pretty disgusted by them, and he makes his way up to the Scottish camp. He defects to Bruce. Slowly but surely, he makes his long way up through the midges in the marsh, through Balquiderick Wood, and lets Bruce know the situation amongst the English. And he's not the chap with the bucket. Maybe he is.
Thanks very much. Have we at D2 now? No. We've been to D2 next, eh? Right, I'll be potential war then, eh? For me.
Now, kids, this is what happens if you don't study hard enough. There's always a youth opportunities programme for somebody. Oh, give a big round of applause. He's got to do this all the time. Well done, well done.
She got my cat keys in her pocket, oh yeah.
Now, just to let you know, we're selling this because we're the Clanranald Trust are a charity and they need to raise money. So there's some lovely manure in a bag. £3, Bannockburn manure. Fantastic stuff. So Bruce has heard that Seaton has told him.
Yeah, unfortunately. Where's the wee help? Where's the girl? Where's the wee girl that's got the keys? My motor. Helps us. My motor.
You better turn your mic off.
Helmet. But she's got my coif in there.
Oh dear. As you can see, Bruce wasn't exactly 100% prepared, was he?
She took my coif in there, eh?
Oh dear, dear, dear. So, maybe we'll go and interview the cast. It might be a lot quicker. I'm going to stick to working in the quest for Bannockburn. At least Neil Oliver had longer hair and he was a nicer guy. Which is incidentally on Monday night, BBC Two. We'll watch it. It's a fantastic programme.
No chance to get
we'll let you know what we watched, what we found. Hee-haw.
My belt, because
Okay, so they're all waiting.
Seaton.
Okay, so you are
busy. No.
Right, okay.
Ah, no, it's right, eh?
We will now do the rest of the performance in alternative dance.
Mr. Roboto.
That looks like Seaton.
Okay.
Alright, take care of them.
We are the Knights who say meet.
I mean, it's not that far. Oh, come on, at last. Where you been? Did you physically walk up from the car itself?
Finally arrived.
What he's up to.
Seaton would go on, believe it or not, to be one of Bruce's supporters and followed him to his death.
Wait on. Come on.
So Sir Alexander Seaton actually expresses the dissent that's carried out in the English camp. Edward II remained in his own camp, didn't even go out and address his men, tell them how a good job they were doing. He's no team builder in that one. The English are camped down in the bog, but they still don't expect the Scots to fight because effectively they're guerrilla fighters. They expect in the morning, when they move up, for them actually to be gone from this area. And Bruce was still considering this until Seaton defected. And effectively what he says is if you attack at first light, you will win this battle. Oh, here he is.
Get up, man. News. What news?
My Lord Bruce,
Turncoat.
I bring news from the English camp. The leadership is in disarray. I cannot abide to stand by men who sink to such petty squabbles. Even the king himself, Edward, cannot agree between his knights. If you should wish it, I wish to join you and tell you that should you press your advantage, the English line will surely break.
Can we trust you, man?
Aye, you have my life. I can fight with you or you can end it. It's yours.
War Council, now.
So off Bruce goes to take a war camp. The Scots' morale is high, whereas the English morale is pretty low. They're fairly effectively leaderless, and their main knights are at odds with each other. Gloucester and Hereford are still arguing over who should lead, and Edward II is fairly absent in terms of proving who he is. So Bruce decides to attack at first light. His war council decide morale is pretty high, and they begin to move from the new park up on the high ground to the low ground. They begin to move towards the camping English army, who do not expect them to fight. Scotland has woken up to fight another day. But £1 for every time somebody said that to me. £4,556 and a shilling. On the morning of the 24th of June, 1314, Bruce decides to attack at first light. The Scots advance and take the English by surprise. The Scots emerge out of Balquiderick Wood and form up. They kneel in prayer, led by the Abbot of Inchaffrey. This is a vital component of the army, because remember that the Scots are on the high ground and they're moving down, and it takes a wee while to move through trees with a big pointy stick, to be honest. We have to think about that. And they're blessed. And while they're blessed, it also gives Bruce time to form his men up, see how many are there, see who's deserted, or see who's maybe went away for a wee something to eat, or whatever. But Edward II actually witnesses this. He witnesses the army being blessed. And he marks to one of his commanders, "Look, they ask for mercy." And yet again, a Scots knight on the English side, Sir Ingram de Umfreville, says, "Aye, they ask for a mercy, but no for you." Proving again just how arrogant Edward II was. Bruce, no, I'm not talking to you. The Bruce has given instructions the night before that no booty or prisoners were to be taken until the battle was won. Now, this is quite a unique term in medieval warfare, because on day one they did take captives. But he's lightly armed, and they're almost, as I say, outnumbered almost 3-1. So it is important, not till the end of the battle, that these guys press on and fight on. It's so important for them to do this, because they can't afford to take prisoners, because that means another man will have to drop out and look after them. Now, this is the first time this is really going to happen. If you were to capture an English knight, for example, Gloucester, Hereford, it'd be like winning the national lottery, because you'd ransom them. So on this occasion, and surprising enough, he's told them no. Leave the wine, the ale, the men with the hairy faces, and basically slaughter them all until the last minute. When the battle's won, whatever's left on that battlefield is yours. Which proved a really hard job for an archaeologist, let me tell you that. 3 years I spent looking in that field. Every bend of the river, every midgie. Never mind. Hello. Bruce is about to give a rousing speech to his men to inspire them before the battle.
Yesterday, I called you warriors. Today, you're my brothers. I have news the English are at their weakest. We're going to do this, we're going to do it now. Do you understand? We're going to do it now. Will you follow me, brothers?
Will the crowd follow you, Bruce? Will the crowd follow you, Bruce? As I said earlier, the descent in the English camp is reaching crisis point. The Earl of Gloucester, because it's the feast day of St. John, the Earl of Gloucester will go to King Edward II and say that the men are tired. And realistically, we don't expect the Scots to fight. Let's have a rest. And Edward II, being Edward II, will have a little bit of an argument with him, basically saying that he's a coward. Bruce is still rallying up his men. Takes a wee while to get morale into this lot. And here comes Edward II, preparing for battle. He's wearing a lovely red coat though, come on. This is a little medieval number out of the House of Plantagenet. But again, Gloucester is actually, he's went to Edward II, and realistically, he said to him,
"Can you tell me why they have snuck up on us in the night? You were meant to guard the camp.
I requested the men, the resources to set up sentries so this did not happen.
You had men, you just didn't use them correctly. You're a fool.
What do you expect? They're a march for hundreds of miles and they need to eat and sleep.
That doesn't matter. My men are soldiers, professional soldiers. They're a peasant rabble. Peasants!
You ask too much of them.
You speak like a coward, and you're a fool. You are no use to me.
I'll show you I'm not a coward.
You are!
well, I think the toys are at the pram for that one. And Gloucester, enraged at the fact he's been called a coward in front of his peers and fellow knights, rides straight at the Scots as they advance out of the trees, and he's met with a wall of spears. Give it up for Gloucester, he's a brave man. Go on, Gloucester. Oh, no luck. But realistically, this is the first chance. This is the first time where an earl has been killed in front of an army. Normally he'd be captured. And that sends a shockwave throughout the English army, because this is something different. This means that there's no quarter going to be given in this occasion.
Oh, you Scots are money, they should have captured him.
I mean, a man of Gloucester's position is incredible. The English vanguard under the horses then charge at the Scots, and the Scots hold them back. Eventually, all three divisions of the Chilterns form up into one mass division, and they start to press forward against the infantry. The cavalry itself is pushed back onto its own men, and a crush develops, and men are beginning to be crushed to death. We can see here English reinforcements coming up to support their noble lords.
On the line!
Dress what?
You've got it. Get the ones that
Bruce!
only water don't last that long.
The two armies clashed in fierce hand-to-hand combat. That's got to hurt. And that. Oh, and that. Oh, it did hurt. Later on, towards the end of the battle, the small folk who've been perched up in Gillies Hill, which is up on your right there, move down towards the Scottish position. The English themselves, thinking it's a new force arriving, start to cut and flee in all directions. Edward II has to be dragged from the field by Aymer de Valence and Sir Giles d'Argenton. He makes his way to Stirling Castle, where he's basically not allowed to get in, and he has to make his way to Dunbar. Towards the end of the battle, the Scots start to take prisoners. But most importantly for the average Scottish infantryman is they hit the baggage train, which is full of wine, cattle and riches. Many of the poor individuals make their way across the Bannockburn and fall into what's known as the Great Ditch. The bodies pile up so high it was said you could walk over it dry foot. But for Robert Bruce, he's won a victory. A victory that will later forge a nation, but not end the war. It will take Bruce another 14 years before Scotland itself is free and he's recognised as king. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Clanranald Trust Historic Saltire and a great bunch of other enthusiasts, reenactors, living historians, stuntmen, washerwomen and shovelers. Thank you for watching. There's a great deal of it. You're only that good. This is a fabulous event you've attended. Thank you for coming. They'll be on again at 2 o'clock. Please visit all of the events here. We have great music, amazing food. There's lots to see and do. We'll see you later. Thanks ever so much.
Hey! You had fun with the last guy.
Enjoy it.
Mum, that was fun with that last guy. Should we come or should we not?
No, so let's play one first.
Yeah. I think the horse has got spooked.
Yeah. Yeah, they had trouble. The horses got a bit freaked out at the beginning.
Poor horses.